It's time for Bringing the Heat with Bryan Nolen.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is another edition of Bringing the Heat with Bryan Nolen. Yours truly here on the week of July the 3rd, 2024. Hopefully, everybody's having a fantastic 4th of July. Hopefully, you're listening to this while you're getting ready to... I'm praying you don't blow off your own fingers while doing fireworks, but thank God for hospitals. Without further ado, let's dive on in to this week's edition of the program. Our featured guest is from Barstool Sports. Rubbin is racing the man, Spider from Barstool Sports.
Now it's time for...
Hey everybody, welcome on back. It's the Rubbin is Racing podcast. It's myself, Spider, in the house, back where he belongs.
To go into the Inferno with Bryan.
Right now, folks, at this time, we got a very, very, very special guest for you. Co-host of the Rubbin is Racing podcast on Barstool Sports, alongside his co-host Large. It is Spider from Barstool, previewing the second annual Chicago Street Course race. What's going on, man? How are you, buddy?
Not much. Pumped to be here. Thanks for having me on, Bryan. I appreciate the invite. Very excited for Chicago Street Race. Just a couple days away now, and joining you from Chicago. So I'm very pumped to have NASCAR back in the city that I call home. Very excited for this weekend.
I am very, very excited for it as well. Can't wait to be boots on the ground starting on a Saturday morning. Now, before we dive into Chicago, Spider, I want to talk about how this started, how this podcast started, how your love of racing started. Just how did this all come about?
Yeah, so growing up, I grew up in Connecticut, so not traditionally a NASCAR town, but my next door neighbor growing up and some of my other friends that I had growing up really encouraged me to become a NASCAR fan, or at least pay attention to what was going on. And I didn't even really do a good job of it until I started working at Barstool, and I was lucky to go with Dave to the Daytona 500, I think in 2018 or 2019. Okay. And that's why I implore everyone now on my podcast, which is our whole goal is to get new NASCAR fans into the sport. So very casual, elementary approach to the sport. But I implore everyone to get to a track for yourself, because as good of my two close friends had told me about how awesome NASCAR was, I didn't know for sure what they were talking about until I went with Dave, with Barstool, and I saw it for myself. And that's really what pushed me over the edge of being a NASCAR fan. Now I sent those guys an apology. I'm like, Sam, John, I'm so sorry. Like, you guys were right. I shouldn't have been missing this my whole life. So yeah, I think it's really, I don't know. It's been fascinating, and I've been lucky and blessed to get the experiences we have since I've joined Barstool, and NASCAR's been good to us, continually inviting us to races all over the country, and it's kind of grown from there. So now lucky to have a NASCAR pod for Barstool, where Large and I do our best to try to cover it on a weekly basis. But like I said, we are new fans. It's a casual outsider approach, trying to drag in other new fans that otherwise wouldn't be paying attention.
Spotter, you mentioned NASCAR has been good to you. Obviously, Barstool, they cover every single sport. Just how different is covering NASCAR than covering something like college football?
I mean, it's way different. For example, not to knock on the college experts we have at Barstool, which are some of the best, but a lot of that entails watching the games remotely, whereas NASCAR invites us out to maybe 6 to 7 races a year and has taken me to places that I have never been. So don't get me wrong, the college experts at Barstool do still have the ability to kind of go to the games, but the difference is NASCAR is giving us an invite. They're hosting us at all these races. They're providing us the experiences. They're linking us with the drivers and kind of facilitating all the connections and experiences we have. Whereas some of the other sports that we work with, we may have good relationships with the league, but nothing like we do NASCAR, where they're kind of hand tailoring our weekend experience or providing us a schedule saying, hey, I think you should experience these things. Here's a driver I would like you to meet. Yeah, I think if I were a college football show or producer or content creator at Barstool, I think the interactions I have with the people actually involved in the sport would be few and far between. Whereas NASCAR, I've been lucky to pretty much meet every driver or do something with every single team at this point on the Cup Series, which, again, I'm very fortunate for.
Let's talk more about this weekend here, Spider, because obviously last year we all saw the monsoon. I think it was like the more than 40 years had gone past since like the first time that they had more rain in one day, and obviously it was the day of the Chicago street race. What has it been like for you, for your coworkers, just for the people of Chicago to see not just the construction, not just the obviously the struggles of just having to negotiate the city of Chicago, but just the excitement level around it? What's just the vibe been like around Chicago?
Yeah, I think in order to get a correct vibe check for this race this year, you need to be understanding of where we were at last year. So last year here in Chicago, it seemed like all I heard was people pessimistic. Oh, like they're tearing up the streets. There's going to be a NASCAR here. I don't know anything about NASCAR. And now this year, you fast forward just 12 months, it seems like NASCAR is in a home run with this event. The energy has completely changed. I haven't heard one single complaint about traffic or construction associated with building the race course. It seems like they're able to do it much more efficiently this year. I was lucky again. You just asked me about the experiences that NASCAR gives me. Luckily for me, they texted me and said, "Hey, do you want to get in a car with Brad Keselowski and drive on the Chicago street race last week?" So I was lucky to do that. And even then, the normal city traffic was still flowing. It didn't look like anyone was too big of an inconvenience on the city for this race. And in fact, it seemed like people were intrigued. There were people, walking the street course themselves, taking photos, looking at as it's coming together. So I'm very bullish on this event. I think NASCAR's done a good job, and they've kind of changed people's reluctance to experience this event. And it seems like the city of Chicago is much more up for it this year. We've been lucky to have NASCAR give us several tickets for the Barstool staff. So of probably the 75 employees working out of this office I'm recording in now, I think we have 30 tickets for our staff. So again, super grateful and appreciative of NASCAR for allowing our whole staff to get that experience. And that's also, with that being said, Brian, we are technically off this week. So from Monday to Friday, we are on summer recess, vacation, whatever you want to call it. So the fact that I still have 30 colleagues that are up for going to this race and prioritizing this event on a holiday weekend, I'm using that as a benchmark. And it seems like everyone's really, really looking forward to this. So yeah, Chicago, I don't know when you get in, but we're up for it, and everyone's very excited from my perspective.
I love it. I get in Friday afternoon, and I mean, it's so different, Spider, because like during the rain delay that Sunday last year, I mean, you could just walk 5 minutes and you're at a Starbucks. I mean,
yeah.
you walk about 5-10 minutes, you're at a pizza place. I mean, they're so close. And like, I was talking with a coworker that's coming with me, and I'm like, this is one of the only weeks we don't get a rental car because, I mean, we just really don't need it. We just walk everywhere. It's so accessible, just everything. I think people don't realize not just how much there is to do, but like the stuff that is around the area. Because, I mean, you really don't need a rental car, so to speak.
No, and I think NASCAR's done a great job. Even this week, there's some great industry events. There's a dinner I'm going to tonight. I know last night they were doing virtual racing at the pier. So they really do a good job the whole week of really bringing the city of Chicago and get them paying attention to what's happening. So I have to commend them. They've done a great job. Last year's race was awesome too. I mean, the rain, they can't control that. NASCAR obviously can't control the weather. What they could control, they delivered on, and we saw a historic result. So this year, I'm 10x more excited for, given that the forecast looks pretty promising. Fingers crossed.
I mean, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, it can't get any worse, the rainfall that is, than last year.
That's true.
Before we get to just finishing up, what are the expectations for this weekend? Not just for you guys in the Rubbin's racing, but just for the overall race. What constitutes this as a successful weekend?
Yeah, I think it's already a success. And I know that might be kind of a cop-out answer. As I said before, the fact that I had 30 of my colleagues want to come and show, desire to be there means the world to me. Originally, back to how did this thing get started? Sorry, I'm answering your questions way after the fact, but I felt as though Barstool was given a great red carpet for NASCAR by NASCAR. And not to knock on any of my colleagues, but I feel like no one was kind of taking that ball and running with it. So I was like, you know what? NASCAR is so good to us. They deserve someone showing them the time of day. And that's what I've been trying to do. So by that metric, it's a success already that, as I said, it was tough getting people in our office to prioritize NASCAR originally. I decided to have the podcast and take the ball and run free with it. And now 30 plus people are trying to attend. So I would say it's already a success. What the race itself, what would constitute a success, in my opinion, would be just a dry race. But at the same time, like I said, you can't knock NASCAR if it rains. So a success would be how they react to adversity. But so far, things are looking good. The attendance seems good. They've got 4 great musical acts. And it just seems like the only thing that could make it worse is somehow if it rained like it did last year. But that seems wildly improbable.
Last but not least, Spider, expectation for the rest of this season. Obviously, it's been a fantastic year of racing so far. What is the expectation for you in this season coming down the wire before we head into the playoffs? And then what are we going to be hearing about on the Rubbin is Racing podcast?
Yeah, so expectations, there's 2 things I'm watching for the rest of the season. One is William Byron. I've been adamant on him that I think the 24 car could win in the year 2024. It's written in the stars, 24 and 24. Byron looked good to start the season, but he's kind of been slumping as of recently. So I'm interested to see what comes of the remainder of 2024 for William Byron. I personally have been hammering futures on him on DraftKings Sportsbook, as I've discussed on Rubbin is Racing. And he's the one I'm watching for. In terms of races that I'm looking forward to, I think obviously the Chicago Street Race, but outside of that, the Miami playoff race, I think we're going to, and we're going to have a great crew that I will announce at a later time, but I have extremely high expectations, and that should be a great time with the people that I've been told are attending with us. So that'd be the one race that I'm kind of looking forward to. Outside of that, I'm a sucker for the plate track. So Daytona, that Daytona race right after the Olympic break would probably be another one that hopefully I can get down to and see for myself. But yeah, exciting. This season has been great. A lot of parity, a lot of winners I didn't see coming. And then I guess one other thing, Brian, that I'm looking forward to in 2024, maybe it's not even coming, is Ty Gibbs' first career win. You asked me to speak about Rubbin is Racing, and I'm not sure when this episode will come out, but Rubbin is Racing comes out every Thursday, although this week we're dropping it on Friday because we have an interview with Tyler Reddick that we're filming Friday morning. So I want to include that. So we're pushing it a day late, but the Tyler Reddick interview will be in there. So look out for that. Tyler Reddick, one of the best, a good friend of Rubbin is Racing and one of our favorite drivers. But I'm interested to see Ty Gibbs, if he can get his first Cup Series win. I think Chicago Street Race, as much as he's 16-1 right now on DraftKings, I think he's got a better shot than that, and I like that price for him. So I liked him at the Coke 600. I felt as though he would have won that race if we didn't get it cut short, and I think it's a matter of time before Ty's in victory lane. I need to see if it's this week for Ty, so I'll be sprinkling him there. But Rubbin is Racing, like I said before, pretty there's a lot of NASCAR podcasts out. Front Stretch obviously does a great job. The Dale Jr. Download, all of Dirty Mo Media. Now you got Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour. Large and I will never be the best. What we provide is a casuals fans perspective, some unique kind of spicy takes from non-lifelong NASCAR fans. Large and I are lucky to be new fans of the sport that have been propelled with the access that NASCAR has given us. So not really traditional takes you're used to hearing. So if you want something that's a little bit different or I don't know. I feel as though a lot of the NASCAR content is just the same takes over and over again. Whereas if there's one silver lining of Rubbin is racing, you're going to get some out of left field opinions. So there's definitely worth checking out. And like I said, we're going to have Tyler Reddick on this week. We had Dale Jr. on earlier this year. And also the Brad Keselowski Chicago race ride along. That video came out this week as well. So trying to just provide you guys with as much unique kind of content as possible by way of Rubbin is Racing. So make sure you check it out.
I love it. You got to make yourself unique because there's so much parody. There's so much different.
Yeah.
There's so many, I should say, so many podcasts out there. You got to have something different, a little bit of a different flavor. So I love what you and Large do. You guys are going to be out there. It was announced, I think, on Monday's edition of Pardon My Take. Big Cat, he's going to be going out there.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to seeing all you guys. We'll hopefully do a preview video either Saturday or Sunday for Front Stretch on their YouTube channel. So I'm beyond pumped. At HQ Spider, once again, Rubbin is Racing coming out every Thursday. This week, though, coming out on Friday, like he said, with this special guest in Tyler Reddick. Spider, it's always a pleasure. I'll see you on Saturday, my friend, and let's have a great weekend, my man.
Let's do it. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Front Stretch. We'll see you guys at the track.
Once again, that was Spider Dan DiOrio for the Rubbin is Racing podcast. Him and Large do a great job. He, Large, Big Cat, a couple other people, like he said in the interview, up to 30 Barstool members will be in attendance. We'll be doing some fun things with them on the Saturday and the Sunday of the Chicago race weekend. Without further ado, let's dive on in to our news and notes with our What's Still Hot.
What's still hot? It's time to upgrade you on the latest news in NASCAR.
What is still hot? Trey Lyle, my co-host at Trey Lyle VT, the man that puts up with all my shenanigans. How are you, Trey? It is great to talk with you, and most importantly, we are about 3 days from the Chicago street course race, and we are less than 2 weeks away from the new college football video game. I think I'm just high on life right now.
Yeah, I had to tell my girlfriend how dedicated I am to her. She has an event July 19th today. I pre-ordered the game so I can get the early release. And she has an event July 19th that I have to go to.
Same.
I told her, if that's not real support, I don't know what is. But yeah, it's a fun time. Chicago street race. I think we're gonna see a Kiwi get it done this weekend. But I'm pumped for it. I hope better weather this weekend, kind of get the full circle of the event. But I also fear this might be the last time we see the Chicago street course. So we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully you're wrong about the second part. You're right about the first part with the no rain. I just want to be less wet than I was last year because it was absolutely miserable to walk with literal puddles in your shoes just walking around. Trey, without further ado, let's dive on into our latest news and notes. It was announced on Wednesday that Josh Berry has signed a multi-year contract with the Wood Brothers. He will be replacing Harrison Burton. This was rumored for a couple weeks now, but pen to paper, officially official, as Ian Rappaport likes to tweet out. Is this a good move for all parties involved?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the 21 has been probably, since Harrison Burton got in the car, maybe the most disappointing ride, considering the Penske backing it has. And you get a guy like Josh Berry, who you could argue has been the best Stewart-Haas car this year in his rookie season, at least. And you get a really good veteran race car driver, despite the fact he's quote-unquote a rookie. He's a veteran race car driver. And I think it's kind of the old school mentality of the Wood Brothers. They kind of feel like the last old school team, of the day. And they get a really good race car driver in Josh Berry. I think it's kind of a perfect fit, and it sucks for Harrison Burton, but at the end of the day, he was just not performing well enough. And ultimately, you need to get a guy in there in Josh Berry where he lands on his feet. Now, it looks like Rodney Childress is not going with him. At least they have a crew chief opening. That is very intriguing to me because that means I think the best free agent out there is Rodney Childress over the drivers that are available, just because he is a difference maker crew chief in this era next gen. There are very few, in my opinion, difference makers at the crew chief position because of the way the car is, and I think he's one of them. And it will be interesting to see where he lands on his feet, because I think any top team, could replace their current crew chief with him and maybe perform better outside of maybe like 3, and that's Chris Gabehart, Cliff Daniels, and I think Paul Wolf after this weekend.
Yeah, I do think it is a win for all parties involved. We'll have to see and wait what happens. According to Bobby P, Fox Sports, it sounds like someone from inside of Team Penske is going to be the crew chief for Josh Berry. So we'll just have to wait.
Not shocking.
I know, crazy, right? Trey, let's head on into our soundbite of the week, or we talk, or should we say we listen to the crew chief of the number 12 car, Jonathan Hassler.
Well, Tony, what angered you at the end of the race? What did you take issue with?
What the hell do you think I was mad about? Dumb little runs us clear down to the infield. He wants to about everybody else, and he's the one that drives like a little I'm going to bust his ass.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
And short track races.
It's time for the sound bites of the week.
First of all, how chaotic were those final restarts from your vantage point?
Yeah, it was definitely crazy. Certainly ran a lot more laps than what we expected, but certainly worked out in our favor.
About the fuel, how much of it was a concern and that type of thing?
Yeah, the guys that pitted at that lap 221, they were certainly in a really bad spot on fuel. We were in a much better situation pitting much later than those guys.
Regarding earlier, Ryan was one of the 3 drivers who elected to stay out there. What was the thought process there?
Yeah, we were we were just outside of the fuel window. A lot of guys were putting tires on, 20 to 30 laps into a run. We didn't seem like we had the best car today, so I think on the same strategy, it was going to be hard for us to win. So I thought if we were able to get some clean air there, that we caught caution at the right time, that would put us in a good position.
Yeah, once again, that was Jonathan Hassler, crew chief for Ryan Blaney. I really didn't get the strategy of him staying out. I mean, I think, what was he running second with Chad Payne before all hell broke loose, and then Denny passed him, and then he was falling back because he had to pit. I mean, this could have gone really, really bad for him if all the carnage did not strike. I think Blaney snuck away with quote unquote a mulligan here, Trey.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Jonathan Hassler saw that there was going to be 5 overtimes, and he's like, might as well stay out.
Yeah.
I get his point of maybe they didn't have the best car. They tried something different, and ultimately they got the caution they needed. Maybe they needed it sooner so they didn't have to pit during the green flag cycle, but ultimately they got it done. I don't know how his teammate lasted as long as he did despite all the caution laps, but ultimately you need luck when it comes to strategy calls, like unless you're going with the field, and they got the luck they needed to probably net gain a better finish than what they were going to get, if memory serves me right.
Yeah, I do think if the cautions did not waive, he would have probably been in the mid-20s, and instead he rounds out. Actually, he doesn't round out the top 5. He comes in the 6th position. So still, top 10 run on what could have been a disastrous finish is a sneaky good result for the defending champion. Trey, let's go on into some final thoughts and wrap it up, my friend.
It's going to be a drag race all the way back to the start-finish line. No caution. They're side by side, right to the line. Big crash. Here they come. Checkered flag.
The checkered flag is out, and it's time for the final thoughts.
Thoughts are in the air, and Mr. Trey Lyle, or Fredericton Lyle, whatever you want to rant or anything in between, you're gonna kill me, but the floor is yours, my friend.
I will be nice and choose to ignore you just said. You didn't even say my first name right. But I just want to point out, Dale Earnhardt Jr., the best talent might be his eye for talent. Because if you look at this, if you formed a cup team, like, let's say it's a 3-car team with drivers he discovered, quote-unquote discovered, a team of Martin Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski, and Josh Berry would be a really good cup team. Like a really, really good Cup team. And it got me thinking because Truex obviously is retiring this year. Barry is going into the 21. Obviously, everything that Brad's done. But those are three guys that, he discovered, quote unquote, or, obviously all the support he gave. I think he gave those guys a lot more support than they had. Like you think of what he did for Martin at obviously Chance 2 back in the day. And then obviously Brad, early days of junior motorsports. And then, what he did with Josh, whether it was the late model program, going into obviously getting a full ride in the Xfinity Series that led to where he is now, going to the Wood Brothers. And you think about like Carson Kvapil, kind of a similar story. He didn't have the support. Obviously, he has a family lineage, but he didn't have. So did Brad to some degree. But Carson has proven already that he's an elite talent, and it's just something to kind of, you have to give your props to Dale, because him and Kelly have done a really good job with junior motorsports, but they've done a really good job at finding Cup level drivers. And you can think of the Chase Elliott's and the William Byrons, but to me, those were already kind of Rick's guys, like destined to be at Hendrick Motorsports. There's a rumor that Connor Zilisch is going to join, and obviously I wouldn't count that as Dale discovering Connor Zilisch. It's obviously, but it's something in which that Dale has done a really good job at finding maybe this group of drivers that are really good and are still kind of the old school story of grinding their way to the top, which I would argue Truex, Brad, and especially Josh Berry definitely did. And Dale appreciates that and is still rewarding that. And he's not just, and he's, in the end of the day, picking really good race car drivers.
There was so much controversy and criticism and argument. Oh, we need to stop this overtime madness. Listen, let's chill the bleep out. This was once in a lifetime. We went 5 overtimes for the first time ever, and everybody was saying this was embarrassing. This was blah, 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 blah. Would you rather have that, or would you rather have it go to the scheduled distance and then a caution comes out with 2 laps to go and the race is over? I mean, sure, it becomes a beep show sometimes, but I'm going to choose this beep show over the lameness that we would see every single time. We would have just seen Denny Hamlin win again. He would have did his thing, get all the team, blah, 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 blah. But guess what? We saw Joey Logano basically, quote unquote, steal a victory, save fuel, and so many more storylines have now come to the table because of this. Is it pure racing? No. Is it pure entertainment? Yes. With that being said, and NASCAR said they want the best entertainment on their television screen every single week. Paraphrasing, so don't quote me on that. This is what we have, and this is what we get. And personally, for me, I enjoy it.
Proud of you.
You know what else I enjoy? I enjoy the banter that I heard yesterday on Jeopardy with Alex Trey.
2 days ago. 2 days ago.
My bad. With Alex Trey back. Trey, that may have been one of the best episodes of Happy Hour I've ever listened to, my friend. First and foremost,
I sound like, I mean, I'm an idiot, but other than that, I want to point out, one, due to Tom bailing every time, I had a limited amount of time to prep because I never know when he was going to do it. 2, unlike Ken Jennings, my help was in a Long John Silver's at the time. Just saying.
Caleb under the bus.
I kept saying that.
You're throwing your producer.
Actually, the funny part is, it's actually true. It's actually true. Caleb was in a Long John Silver's during the entirety of that episode because he did a great job this past weekend at Nashville. So that's why. It wasn't because he just wanted to be there. He had to stop on his way back home. So I want to give him props for that. But yeah, fun episode. Tom may or may not have choked it away again. I gave Davey 100 points for his birthday.
I have 10 minutes left in the episodes. Davey said, "Can you just give me 100 points for your birthday?" And you said yes, and that's where I had to stop it. So I don't know the end result yet, but after this recording, I'm gonna.
Well, I did send you the final Jeopardy question, and you got it wrong.
Well, I didn't know who it was.
So
yeah. But listen to Happy Hour. It came out 2 days ago.
We'll watch it. You can watch it right here on the YouTube channel.
Right there.
You're already here. Guess what? The link for it is going to be at the end of this video.
Like and then subscribe if you haven't. Like and subscribe if you haven't. At Trey Lyle VT, at the Bryan Nolen. I will be in Chicago with our man Steve and Stump. We're going to have all the latest for you. We're going to talk with some guys from Barstool, Spider, Large, Big Cat. I would assume Eddie, tons of other personalities as well. We're going to get their thoughts coming up from Chicago. All the latest on frontstretch.com and our socials. Coming up next, Through the Gears, my man Tino's got all the latest betting odds. Is SVG the lock of the century? Tino will answer that and more. And then Stock Car Scoop every Sunday with, like I mentioned, Happy Hour. And can't forget the Pit Straight, covering the open wheel side of things. For Trey Lyle, I am Brian Timothy Dale Nolen. Have such a great 4th of July weekend. We'll talk with you next week. Please do not burn or blow your fireworks. Your fingers off of your fireworks. Your fingers from your fireworks. Jesus, Brian.
What's up? Michael Massey here, frontstretch.com. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button.